What's up? Welcome to an all new thing called Saturdays with Chaos. This is a brand new thing we'll try out, and for this very first one, we're gonna do my horrible Army basic training story. But rather than just staring at this face during the whole story, we'll overlay it with a little bit of video game play of a game called Heroes and Generals. So I joined the Army back in 1999. I got out of high school in June of 99, and I was off to basic training by August of 1999. Now I went to basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia. And prior to me going to basic training, Fort Benning was strictly combat style infantry guys that were going to basic training, and that was not me. I actually did transportation in the Army. It wasn't until my class that they actually were going away from strictly doing combat arms jobs and MOSs to now doing other military jobs as well. So for however long, these drill sergeants and the command and all that stuff like that was used to only training infantry guys and combat arms types of skills. So this wasn't something that was really kind of well accepted from all the drill sergeants. Now, before I get into kind of why and how all that kind of went down, let me tell you a little bit about kind of how basic training kind of platoons kind of work. Now, usually you have like a platoon name, Mad Dogs, Outlaws, Rebels, whatever type of thing. It's kind of like a motivational thing that every platoon's got some kind of a name to it. So prior to my cycle, my platoon was usually called the Mad Dogs. Well, our drill sergeants for our particular platoon wasn't too happy about training non-combat arms soldiers, so we weren't allowed to have a hardcore name. They felt that if we weren't hardcore infantry guys, then we didn't deserve to have a hardcore name. Now, our platoon was the only platoon doing this. So while all the other platoons in the company were things like Rebels and Outlaws and Mad Dogs and whatever kind of hardcore motivational type of name they could have, we were the Goldfish. That's right, the little fish that you can get at the pet store for super cheap. Our platoon was the Goldfish. You had like the Rebels and the Warriors and then the Goldfish. Now another thing that kind of goes along with, you know, that platoon name, usually you have like a motto, something that usually you will sound off with when the platoon is called to attention. For example, just to give you an example, maybe the Outlaws, when they get called to attention, they might yell really loudly, yell Outlaws, something like that. Well, for ours, when we got called to attention, we had to yell, Goldfish lead the way, bloop bloop. That's right. So we got called to attention and we would sound off, Goldfish lead the way, bloop bloop. That's how we would have to do it. That's how we'd have to say it when we got called to attention. Now, while all the other ones are yelling out, Rebels and Mad Dogs and Outlaws and whatever kind of a thing, and we're yelling, Goldfish lead the way, bloop bloop, well, obviously you got a lot of chuckles when we would get called to attention. So that was horrible. And even other companies weren't doing anything like this. They were still doing all hardcore names, just like you normally do in basic training. And so when we would have to do even like, brigade formations or whatever, and they want to do this little motivational thing of like, hey, have you guys, have your platoons called to attention, and let's hear them sound off, and let's see who can be the loudest. Well, they're all yelling out their hardcore names, and then it comes to us, and here we go again. We're yelling, Goldfish lead the way, bloop bloop. And all the other platoons and companies are laughing at us. So that was horrible. Another thing you have to do is usually you'll have like a kind of like a cadence or a type of thing for drawing weapons. So while other platoons, you have to sound off with your roster number for in basic training, maybe first platoon, maybe theirs is, 101 outlaw, 102 outlaw, and that's what they would have to kind of sound off with as they were, peeling off from their formation to go draw weapons. Well, for ours, we were the second platoon, which were the Goldfish, and we had to yell 201 bloop bloop, 202 bloop bloop, so on and so forth, till we all grabbed our weapons. And that was another kind of horrible thing that we had to associate with the name. Our drill sergeants felt it wasn't bad enough that we had to be called the Goldfish, but we also needed a mascot, and of course our mascot was a live goldfish in a little fishbowl. So back when I went to basic training, I don't know if it's still like this or if a lot of them have gone away from it, but it was a big open bay. So you would walk in and there'd be a bunch of beds all lined up with wall lockers all over, and everybody was exposed and you could see everybody, and there wasn't a lot of privacy. So when you first walked in, you had the drill sergeant's office kind of off to the right, and there was a table in front of his office that had the goldfish bowl right on top of that table. Our responsibility was to take care of this goldfish, make sure it got fed and it didn't die. Because if it died, our drill sergeant said that he would smoke us, which is a term for basically make us do some physical training until we're exhausted. So they would smoke us until we cried for this fish, as if it was a funeral. So we had to take it very seriously to, keep this fish fed and alive and make sure that we don't have to do a funeral for this fish and get smoked. Well, one day our first sergeant decided he was going to come into our barracks, check on us, and kind of mess with us as first sergeants and drill sergeants do when you're in basic training. And he goes over to the fish bowl and he grabbed the goldfish, put it in his mouth, and walked out, making us think that our first sergeant just ate our mascot, the goldfish. Well, it turned out he went outside and spit out the goldfish and handed it to another soldier, who immediately, shortly after, came into the barracks and was like, "Hey, is this your guys' goldfish?" The first sergeant just spit it out and handed it to me. So we quickly grabbed the goldfish, put it back in the bowl, and hope that it's going to survive, this traumatic event that this goldfish just went through. The goldfish did not survive. And we got lucky though. Thankfully, the drill sergeants did not smoke us until we cried. I don't know if they just decided to go easy on us, or if they decided, hey, this wasn't their fault because the first sergeant decided he wanted to put it in his mouth. I'm not really sure. But we got lucky, and thankfully we didn't get smoked until we cried for this goldfish. So now let's fast forward towards the end of basic training. And usually, platoons will, designate someone in the platoon who's really good at drawing and can come up with a cool t-shirt and sweater design so that when we go to graduate, you can purchase these shirts and have a little memento to remember your platoon from. So we designate someone in our platoon who's really good at drawing, and we have to come up with some kind of idea based on our mascot for a shirt and a sweater. So we ended up having this guy draw a goldfish holding 2 M16s with some belts of ammo going across his chest, firing into the air like he's Rambo. I think he even had a bandana on too, and that was our t-shirt and our sweaters. Sadly, I think I did buy a sweater, but I don't have it anymore. I think back in my early 20s, shortly after getting out of basic training, I let a girl that I was dating wear the sweater, and then we eventually split apart, and I don't think I ever got the sweater back. So that sweater is long and gone. So yeah, that is the story of how my platoon was the goldfish in basic training. If you like this video and you like other content that I have, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you like this particular video, then at least hit that little thumbs up button for me. I'm Christopher Chaos. Thanks for hanging out and watching. See you next time. See ya.